Oh, hello. Welcome to my world of stuff. You catch me with a little bottle of Universal lighter fluid, which can only mean one thing if you're a Blu-ray collector. It means you've bought something from CEX and it's got some pesky labels that require a little TLC. Get them off. Welcome to Physical Media Update. Yes, welcome back. To Physical Media Update and a little bit more, a little bit of a chat about a couple of hot topics. I did this a few months ago. It seemed to go quite well, I think, at the time when I did a sort of a random chat about things. So I thought I would do the same again today with just a little physical media update of a few bits and pieces, not many, a few things I've bought in the last week or so. And just to chat about some things related to Doctor Who, related to Marvel, and related to this stuff, physical media. Right, a few things I bought then. I went to CEX last week, Monday just gone. I had a voucher for about 45-ish quid. So I picked up a few little bits and pieces, which I was quite pleased to get hold of. One of them is currently soaking. It requires me to get the sticky, pesky CEX label off, so I'll show you that one in a moment. First one I got, though, is I was quite pleased to get this for 20 quid. John Wick, the collection, the 4-disc, 4 Blu-ray collection, in a slipcover for slipcover lovers. This came out fairly recently, I think. It's still available for about 28 quid, I think, on online. So I was quite pleased to get this for 20 quid. I do like the John Wick films, especially the last one, which was just extraordinary. Non-stop, mad action. But they're a good selection of films, and it's nice to have all 4 on this nice slim collect set. I think I've got a couple of them on Blu-ray, so I can just slot this one in instead. The slipcover's slightly scuffed at the bottom, but I don't really worry about that too much. I don't really worry about slipcovers altogether, really. If they've got them, they've got them. If they haven't, they haven't. I don't get into sweat about it personally. John Wick, chapters 1 to 4. This one I picked up, and in fact I must check before we get any further to see if I've got this already. And in fact, I haven't. It's one of those films I thought I must have picked this up at some point. I may have it on DVD hanging around, but I certainly haven't got it on Blu-ray, so I'm quite pleased. Never seen this. I hear it's supposed to be very good. Not the sort of thing I'd normally go for. It's La La Land, the Oscar-winning film directed by Damien Chazelle, starring Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. So I've never seen it, and I picked it up, a couple of £2.50, I think it was, in CEX, and thought, I'm sure I must have this somewhere. I must have picked it up, but no, I hadn't, so I'm quite pleased to have got it. The only problem is that it is in a slipcover, so it's in good condition, but the actual Blu-ray case itself is a bit mashed up. It's no big deal. I will swap it with, in fact, I couldn't be bothered to swap it from a spare disc. I've just ordered one for a couple of quid on eBay, which is due today. It does come with a digital code. I don't suppose that works, but if anybody wants to give it a go, please feel free. There it is. It also comes, I noticed, with some collector's cards. Exclusive art cards, as they call them. They're not actually art cards because they're photographs, but there we are. That's my little bugbear, which has clearly not been looked at because they're still in the little plasticky paper sleeve thing, so I'll get them out now to have a look. I wasn't expecting them to be there. I thought they would have gone, but it's that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. So yeah, it's quite nice to have that, as it came with the original set. It's quite nice that they're still there. When I'll get to watch this, I have no idea, but I guess I'll watch it at some point. So that's La La Land. I will put that into a brand new case later today. As I say, I was going to swap it out for another one, but it's just as easy, really, just to pay a couple of quid for a new one. So that's La La Land. And the final bit of physical media I bought, and that's the one I was working on when you joined me to get the label off. It's pretty much off. This is a classic TV series on Blu-ray. This was 12 quid for season 3 of the classic 1960s Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone. Yes, the one that always evokes that music when people talk about anything weird. There are 37 episodes of this particular series. I think it's probably half-hour episodes. I remember watching this back in the 60s when it was on British TV. I do like an anthology show, and this is one of the classics, this and The Outer Limits. So I was quite pleased to get this for 12 quid. I'll be looking out for the other 2, I think there are 3 seasons. I'll be looking out for the others now that they're starting to turn up at a cheaper price. But I think 12 quid for a bit of classic TV, bit of a bargain. So those are the only physical media as such items, but I have picked up some other things. This is a bit of a cheat. I had this a few weeks ago. In fact, a friend of mine got this for me in a charity shop. It's a set of Superman classic placemats, drinks holders. I haven't opened them yet. They're still in their sleeve. I think they cost him a couple of quid, and they're quite nice. Yeah, it's 4 in there. Yeah, Superman drinks holders. The same chap, incidentally, the same friend of mine, also picked this up from a charity shop. This is Captain Britain. This is a volume of Captain Britain, strips collected. This is the post-original Captain Britain that I remember very well. Yeah, this looks quite... And the artwork is acceptable to me. It's more like classic comic artwork than the stuff we get today. I've got a volume of the original Captain Britain strips that I remember. So this sort of doesn't exactly follow on, but it's part of that chronology. When I saw the cover, when he gave it to me, I thought, I'm sure I've got this. But I haven't got this. I've just seen the cover before. So yeah, I'm quite pleased to have this. And it'll add to my burgeoning comic collection that I keep buying comics, put them on the shelf and not reading them. This is a bit of a collector's item. This will be going on eBay. I'll be quite honest about that. I'm not keeping this. But I saw this and it's in good condition. This is a kit of the Green Hornet's Black Beauty car. Now, when I saw it, I thought, is this from the 60s? Because it's a very similar set to the 60s. I don't think it is. I think this was probably re-released when that terrible film with Seth Rogen came out a few years ago. I'm trying to find a date on it. 1998, so that sounds about right, yeah. But I think it's pretty much based on the original from the 1960s. And I did check it over in the shop. Get it up. So it's all there. The instructions on how... I'm not a kit person. This would be nothing to me. But it's all there, all still sealed. So hopefully some collector will take that off my hands. I paid, I think it's 15 quid for this. So, you know, with eBay, I don't necessarily, you know, I'm not trying to scalp or anything. But obviously, I'm hoping to get my money back on that. That would be rather nice. Right, there we are. That's the stuff I've picked up in the last few days. Not a lot of stuff. There are some things in the post. There's a couple of CDs and odds and sods books and things, which I probably would have mentioned, but they haven't arrived today, so you don't get to see them. Right, that's my physical media pickups. Now for some other stuff. Bang, and I'm back. Just a little addendum to that previous bit. When I finished recording this whole video, I went in and discovered that the postman had been. Mr. Posty had been and delivered the 3 things I expected. I was going to unbox them here, but I've unboxed them already, so I'll just show you what they are. 3 things. The brand new album for the Rolling Stones, Hackney Diamonds. I've never been a massive fan of the Rolling Stones over the years. Obviously, I appreciate their place in rock heritage and so on. And I like a lot of their songs, but I don't think I've ever actually bought a Rolling Stones album apart from a hits album. But this has had such really good reviews. I love the first single, Angry, which came out a couple of months ago. And, my wish to listen to some proper music instead of all the stuff that the kids listen to today. I thought I would pick this up, and I do like a CD now and again. I got this off eBay for about $9.78. A bit cheaper than the stores and things, so I shouldn't really be complaining about something I'll be complaining about later. But yeah, I'm very pleased to get this. I'll be listening to this over the weekend. This arrived. It's just a Blu-ray replacement case for La La Land, so I will now conduct a rescue mission on camera by taking the disc out of its old case and all the bits and bobs. Taking out the back cover. This is fascinating viewing. I hope you're really enjoying it. Putting the slip inside the sleepy thing. And the photographs. And there it is. La La Land safely secured in a new Blu-ray cover. Yeah, I need to push it down a little bit more. And then nicely in its slip. And then this thing can go to hell. Thank you. Final thing which arrived is a book. It's a book called The Drift by C.J. Tudor. I remember this coming out a few months ago and thought it sounded quite interesting. I bought it now because one of C.J. Tudor's previous books, The Burning Girls, is currently a rather good TV series on Paramount Plus, which I'm watching. And this sounds quite good. I think it's a post-apocalyptic type thing, with a group of survivors staying in isolated chalet, and something is picking them off High-octane, jaw-dropping, exceptional, wildest thriller of the year, truly terrifying ice-cold chiller, her most terrifying yet. So yeah, it's a good time of year for things like that, so I thought I would pick that up. It's funny, I'm going through a not reading very much phase at the moment, having bolted through about 4 books last month, the last 6 weeks or so. I'm a bit sluggish, so I've got some deadlines for some writing stuff to do in the next couple of days. Once they're done, I will settle down as the winter nights draw in and tuck into stuff like this. There we are. That's the 3 things that I had that I was waiting for that arrived after I recorded this video. Back to your scheduled transmission. Right, here we are then. It's when I'm recording this, it's Thursday the 26th. I'm losing track of time. 26th of October, and last night the BBC announced the transmission dates and availability dates of the 3 new Doctor Who specials, which reunite David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And those episodes, as you probably know, are The Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and The Giggle. And of course, we know they're coming up in the next few weeks because it's the anniversary of Doctor Who, as you might have noticed from this channel, where there's been quite a lot of Doctor Who content and a bit more to come. And I think a lot of people thought that these episodes were going to air beginning of November, with the 3rd one, the sort of anniversary weekend, if you like, on the 25th of November. We were pretty certain that the show was going to head back to Saturday nights. That's its sort of ancestral home. And I think that Russell T Davies, who is now back a showrunner, of course, was quite keen to get it back on that slot. And we've now discovered that the first episode, in fact, Star Beast, which is based on a Marvel Doctor Who magazine or Doctor Who weekly comic strip from way back when, that's now going to appear on Saturday the 25th of November. So the actual anniversary weekend of Doctor Who is when the first of these specials airs, which I think is unusual because I thought the anniversary weekend might climax with that final episode. But apparently no, the Star Beast is arriving on the 25th of November. The publicity image for it, which is there, says quite pointedly BBC iPlayer and Disney Plus worldwide. So it's interesting to note that the BBC are really pushing the iPlayer as their point of contact for any of their new products, really. I can't think of many shows these days that don't have the entire series uploaded onto the iPlayer as soon as the first episode airs. I think the BBC are now less concerned about viewing figures and are much more interested in people looking at the iPlayer on catch-up. And that's really quite an interesting develop. So I think people who bang on about TV ratings and how Doctor Who ratings have plunged and Doctor Who's unpopular aren't looking at the bigger picture, because it's not about bums on seats on the night of a show being watched, or even in that period until midnight, which used to be the sort of catch-up period, immediate overnight period. It's now, as far as the BBC are concerned, it's about the iPlayer, and we don't really get to see those figures. So I think that whatever the viewing figures are for these episodes, or anything on television, there's a massive chunk of viewership that isn't recorded publicly because it's on the iPlayer. And that, of course, with streaming, that's the way things are going. That's where content is going first. But I'm sure these episodes, I'm sure the episodes will also air on BBC One on those evenings, and that's where I'll be watching them. The second episode, which is Wild Blue Yonder, is on the 1st. It is the 1st of December. Hang on, I'll just have to work it out. Yeah, I just had to work out what 7 days was from the 25th. The 1st of December will be when the second episode, Wild Blue Yonder, is released. That's one of the episodes that we know. We know a bit about the first one because we know it's a sort of a romp involving the Meep from the Doctor Who comic strip, The Star Beast. The second and third episodes we don't know a lot about, and I like that. I like the fact that we don't really know. I know there's lots of surprises to come, lots of things we don't see coming. Wild Blue Yonder is, I think, where the 3 parts really sort of kick in. And really looking forward to seeing that one. And of course, The Giggle is the 3rd episode. And I think that's probably the one that's going to feature Neil Patrick Harris as the Celestial Toymaker, or the Toymaker, as he's undoubtedly known today. Whether he's going to have cameo appearances in the early 2, or there's going to be threaded in that he's the major villain of the 3, I don't know. But that's going to be obviously on the 8th of December. And the physical media releases, I had a press release from the BBC this morning. They're released the following week with lots of special features coming. No cover released yet, no cover image, but I'm sure it'll be one of the ones that we've seen here. So that's all coming in the next few weeks. I suppose it's frustrating that having waited a year for new Doctor Who, it's a couple of weeks later than most people thought. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be the 11th, 18th and 25th, but we just got to wait a bit longer. We're nearly there, we're so close, you can feel their fire. So that's Doctor Who, the new episode, coming soon. A couple more bits I want to talk about. I'll talk about the Marvels, the latest film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which at the time of recording is about 2 weeks away from release. And I can't say that there's much buzz about it. I can't say anybody's seriously anticipating or looking forward to it. And that's a far cry from where we've been with Marvel over the past few years since the MCU kicked off in 2008. It's really been a cultural phenomenon. All of these films generating massive box offices and creating huge iconic figures of what were fairly sort of minor Marvel comics characters. Much as comics fans knew Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and Ant-Man, they hadn't permeated into the public consciousness and the zeitgeist the way that the classic superheroes, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, even Wonder Woman, they're sort of the characters that people think of when they think of superheroes. But a lot of these Marvel characters, legendary characters, suddenly became well known all over the world, and there was such a buzz for Marvel films, and as I said, a massive cultural marker for the 21st century. But I think we all have to agree that things have changed, times have changed. Superhero films aren't what they were, and a lot of superhero films now, particularly, DC have taken several big hits over the last year with well-budgeted films which have really done badly. Things like The Flash, Black Adam, and Shazam, the Shazam sequel, which is a disaster at the box office, and even the recent Blue Beetle, which was a nice little film, quite low budget, but it's barely covered its budget and certainly won't make a profit. So this is why DC are sort of rebooting themselves, and you have to wonder if it's a little bit too late for them, because I'm not saying that there's necessarily superhero fatigue, but I just think that moment has gone. The glory days of those things have gone, and I think that no matter how many times you reboot Superman and Batman to some popularity, other characters just aren't going to have the same cachet and aren't going to have the same impact. And I think maybe that's where we are now with Marvel. They've struggled a bit over the last year or so, and I think it's hard to disagree that since Phase 4, they seem to be floundering a little bit. The films have been hit and miss, TV series have been hit and miss, and it just seems a bit directionless. So we've got the Marvels coming out, I think November the 11th or something like that, and I appreciate that we've got the actor strike in America, so we can't get the stars of the film on chat show couches or doing interviews because there's this wall of silence until the strike is resolved. Hopefully it won't be too long. But even without that, it doesn't seem a lot of interest or enthusiasm for this film. It is nominally the sequel to Captain Marvel, starring Brie Larson, which came out, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I wasn't hugely impressed with that film. I found it a bit dull. The problem I have with Captain Marvel as a character, she is so powerful. She is Marvel's Superman, and with Superman it's very hard to find a compelling enemy for him to fight because he's just so omnipotent and so powerful. And I think that's the problem I had. Sorry, my camera's wobbling on my stand a bit. That's the problem I had really with Captain Marvel, is that she is so powerful. It's very hard to make her seem fallible. And I didn't find Brie Larson's performance particularly engaging. There's something slightly cold and distant about her as a performer generally. And I'm not getting into one of those anti-feminist rants. I just think that she's not necessarily suited to this sort of commercial film world. So of course they teamed her up in this new film with Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel in the Disney Plus TV series, and Monica Rambeau, who I think plays a character called Proton. I don't know if she's called Proton in this film, who is introduced in WandaVision. Now it's an interesting thing to introduce into this film 2 characters from TV series that a lot of the audience might not have seen. I don't really have particularly high hopes. I mean, the trailers look okay. It's got a very short running time. It's 1 hour and 3/4, which is bizarrely short for a Marvel film. And of course, I don't know whether it's just the fact that it's not possible to build up any hype at the moment with the actor strike, but it doesn't seem like a film which has got a lot of heat behind it. I think it was revealed this week that the review embargo is until the day before the film comes out. That's usually a bad sign. Films like this usually have their reviews a week before to build up interest. If critics are only allowed to publish their thoughts on it the day before, it suggests that maybe it's not great. I don't know. We shall find out. But I think whether it's symptomatic of a greater ennui that we have with Marvel, I don't know. But certainly my interest in Marvel has waned a bit, my enthusiasm. I used to really look forward to these films coming out. And I generally have gone to see them first day. But I think it's just we've had 30 odd films now. Not necessarily overkill, but you can have too much of a good thing. And when the good thing isn't as good as it was, you do sort of wonder, is it time for something else? But I will keep supporting these films. I do enjoy them in theory. But there's certainly that wow magic that we had with Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home. That's not really there anymore. And that's a shame. I don't know if Marvel can pull it round and get things going again. I don't know. But it is a shame that we seem to have passed through that exciting phase of superhero films. Let me know what you think, incidentally, if you're looking forward to Marvels, if you're disinterested, if you're fed up with superhero films. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Finally, we're talking about physical media itself. I've done a little chat about some stuff that I've bought in the last few days. And it's a constant topic, really, discussing the future of physical media. The last week or so, I think it was announced that one of the big American chains, I can't remember if it was Walmart or Target or Best Buy, one of them, I think it might have been Best Buy, has announced that they're getting rid of physical media by some point in the next quarter next year. And there are some people on YouTube, I won't call them YouTubers because I don't like that word. There are some people who I look at on YouTube who go out their regular shopping things, and they're a bit distressed because that's where they get their views and the clicks and so on. So they're a bit concerned that the physical media is going to be less available. And I think certainly in Britain we've seen this already. We've seen most of our supermarkets now don't stock the stuff. Tesco's don't stock it. Sainsbury's, that used to have a massive range of physical media in the stores near me, went last year to be replaced by an Argos. And I was in an Asda on Monday in Cardiff, which has always had a physical media presence. Again, it used to be massive years ago. It's been much smaller lately, but that was gone. And I mean, they were doing a refurbish anyway, so I don't know whether they're moving things around, but the shelves they had of CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays weren't there. So I think it's going to go completely in supermarkets in the UK. And I know that some Asdas have shrunk their physical media sections down considerably. Certainly the ones that I go to that used to have massive stands, it's now 2 or 3 stands of the biggest best-selling titles. And it is a bit of a shame because Asda in particular, they used to often sell these odd little straight-to-DVD horror or science fiction films. Most of them weren't very good, but they were there for a few quid, and eventually they would come down to about 3 quid, and you'd sort of pick them up to have a look. And of course they would do bargains and sales and things. And I do look fondly back at the boom time for the DVDs and Blu-rays when they first appeared, when you would get the big post-Christmas sales in the shops and racks of things. And I used to have a really good time just looking through the racks, picking up bargains, because I do like a bargain. Much as I support physical media, I very rarely buy it at full price, so I'm a culprit as much as anybody, because it does stick in my throat a bit if I buy something for 15 quid and then 3 weeks later it's 2 for 15 or 2 for 20. It's just human nature to, sticks in your throat a bit. So I think we're certainly seeing, reflected in what's happening in America, I think it's probably happening quicker over here, that supermarkets are ditching this stuff. And it's all about floor space and the use of floor space. And I can understand it from the supermarket's potential perspective. If they got racks and racks of slow-moving CDs and Blu-rays and areas that people aren't going to, because generally the public, unless you're a collector, you're not going to the shops to buy these things. You might pick one up out of curiosity now and again. But a lot of people these days are getting rid of their software and their hardware to play these things. It's all about streaming. And there's that sort of feeling certainly that youngsters today don't have any interest in owning things, but they want to have access to them. So they want to stream a film, want to stream a song, but they don't really want to own it. They don't have any empathy with that concept of building up a collection of things. They just want to have it, but don't want to own it. And I think that's the way we are going. And I think we are going to see, I would say within 6 to 12 months, there will be no supermarkets selling physical media. We will have HMV. HMV seem to be going quite well at the moment, but they've diversified into merchandise and T-shirts and sweets and things. They still have, obviously, significant physical media presence, but they've diversified into stuff which has kept them afloat, when I think if they just stuck to CDs and Blu-rays and so on, they would have gone, because that general market isn't there. And it's a shame. It's a shame. As somebody who's always collected stuff, I collected VHS tapes. I had them coming out of my ears. I've collected DVDs, now Blu-rays and 4Ks. It's just in my genes, if you like, that I will collect these things. And I suppose I'm the last generation of that in a way. the hardcore generation. I know there are youngsters that buy them, but you know, if they're not available, you're not going to get them, and people will abandon the concept of collecting these things, and it's a shame. So just wanted to chat about that very briefly. Let me know what you think. Do you still collect? I know I've touched on this subject on a previous video months ago, but as it's sort of gathering steam now, the slow obsolescence of this stuff, just thought I'd mention it again. So let me know what you think. Have you abandoned physical media and gone over to streaming? Do you think that there's still hope for physical media? I think it will always be there online, but it's very much a niche thing. I was going to say the way the vinyl is, but vinyl's had a bit of a resurgence. So I think these formats never die, but I think they lose their profile and they don't become the sort of the predominant form of owning things or viewing things, because people's tastes do change, and technology has made that happen. So let me know what you think on this vexed topic of physical media. Have you abandoned it? Are you hanging on to it? Do you foresee a time when it's going to become niche? Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Right, thank you for this. Hope you've enjoyed this little mix and match video. I will do them again. It just occurred to me earlier in the week I haven't put something up for a few days, and there were a few things I wanted to just chat about, plus show you these new odds and sods that I bought. So yes, why not like and subscribe? Leave a comment down below, particularly subscribe. That would be great. I'm on the edge of 400 subscribers now. That's really exciting. Oh, it's exciting. So if you've stumbled across this channel, yeah, you might as well subscribe. Won't do you any harm. I will see you soon. There's more Doctor Who content coming up soon. In the next few days, I will finally be recording the fourth and final episode of my Doctor Who rankings, where you will discover my top 3 actors to play TV's Top Time Lord. So that's coming up. Recording that probably on the weekend. It should be out early next week. So exciting. Right. Leave a comment, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff. I'll see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.